All right, I'm Emily Darby, and I'm with the Poshcast. We put the glitz and glam on motherhood with a side of a reality check. I have today Terry Suter from Face Foundry. Thanks for being here. And I have Samantha Gomez. She is one of the founding members on the committee for the Posh Mama Club. So thank you both for being here. And today's topic is, can a woman really do it all? What are your stances on this? Just so curious.
Well, first, thank you so much for
Absolutely
having me and hosting this podcast. I definitely have a point of view about this, and I think it starts with what is the definition of all?
Is that a question for me, or is it a question?
It could be a rhetorical question, but
Okay.
I think that in order for me to, really, I think dive into, can a woman really do it all? Well, what does all mean? And I think it depends on the woman.
And a lot of people are like, yeah, I can do it all. Look at me. Yeah, but I feel like you really can't, which is like, in the way that I mean it, it's just, you could be the jack of all trades, but doesn't mean you're going to be really good.
Well, that's really true, actually. Now that you said it, like, can women do it all? And the answer is yes, but the answer is, how well can we do it all? Like you were saying, like, you can only give 40%. Once you become a mother, now takes the step further to being a woman. Now you're a mother. Now it's not about you anymore. More or less, you're giving yourself 5% and you're giving everybody else the 95%. And that's where, can we do it all? For others, yes. Once we become a mother, for others, yes. For ourselves, no. Now we lack on what we do for ourselves, so we're not really giving it all to us. We're giving it all to everyone else.
I think till the pressure's off, I don't think society's been built for a woman to do it all yet. I think that we're going the right direction. I don't think that we're there at all. I think that, do they call, dads working dads? No, they call it a working woman. Like, why? Why is that label even still there? Like, does it matter anymore? It's just not the 1950s. And it kind of like, I don't know, it irks me, right?
Yeah.
Where, okay, now you have this child. Let's say you are working full time. What are the responsibilities in the home looking like, right? And are you supposed to be 100% a great cook? Are you supposed to be 100% a great, I don't know, whatever, cleaner? I don't know what you do. I think women need to be okay with asking for help and it being okay and not making you seem weak. If you decide to have a sitter, if you decide to get an intern, if you decide to do carry out, if you decide to do catering, whatever it is that you need to do to be better, like a business. Terry, you own Face Foundry. If you were running Face Foundry on your own, now you're doing the facials, you're doing the cleaning, you're doing all of the admin, the bookkeeping. It wouldn't work. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So in order to be successful, you need to be okay with getting the village, having a team, and asking for help. I just don't think one woman can do it all. I think that that's just this really ridiculous notion and pressure that we keep putting on ourselves that's just not attainable. And I think it's just getting into the conversation of, it's okay to not do it all, because you want to do one thing right. Like, focus on the one thing you're good at and what can you do to get there, whether it be, like I said, finding the help.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you use the word team, because in the business context, unless you're truly a solopreneur, you're really not doing it alone. You have a team. You put the right people around you that have maybe different strengths or talents that you don't, and you're bringing your unique talent to the table. It's really that way with all aspects of your life. Whether you're quote unquote working outside the home, by the way, stay at home mom, that is more than a full-time job too. And even that sort of, how do we even describe that and the value that brings to a family, a community?
I think we're still there where I feel when women say, I'm a stay-at-home mom, there's kind of like some shame behind it.
Well, that's okay, so that's why where society went. Like, back, our grandparents, they were stay-at-home moms.
Correct.
That's what they were labeled as. Then all of a sudden, women wanted to demand in the working industry, which we should be making up the ranks. We should be becoming CEOs, things like that. Now there's more of a view on, like, what kind of woman are you? How much value do you bring to a family? When people forget that even that stay-at-home mom.
When you say value, do you mean like monetarily?
Like money? Like, what are you bringing? Like, are you helping the mortgage, like with your husband, things like that? more or less a man's role, what a man was focused on back years ago.
What is a man's role?
Well, I don't
just
know
curious.
what a man's role is. I know what a woman's role is.
I feel like the list is like,
I think it's evolving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting there. I don't
That's
think
the
we're
thing. And
quite there yet at
I
all.
think some of us, because of just so much outside noise, we take shame versus proud of what
It's
we
sad.
do.
Mm-hmm.
When realistically, like everything every single person does is needed, not just one person.
Do you think that maybe comes with the spouse or partner that you pick? I mean, I think that a lot of women find themselves in resentment, like they're just so resentful because they've put everything in the back burner, right? And there's all this, you have to do it all. You have to do it all and you have to do it right. You have to look good. You have to, eat good. You have to, after the baby, you have to be, like lose it quick. You need to snap back. You need to there's all this pressure in all aspects. And it's not possible. Not because you can't. I just think we're human. And I think that we need to like humanize it a little bit and give each other grace when it comes to it.
Yes, grace in all
Grace
aspects.
is huge in all aspects.
I think one of the things that, and we don't spend enough time, I think, exploring this personally in our younger years, is really to know yourself and to set your, what your aspirations and ambitions are personally. And as it relates to your partner, your family life, and being able to kind of lay that out for your potential partner, your life partner, your husband, whatever that looks like for you, so that you can be really clear to say, you know what, I want to be a business owner. I want to have a family. Parental relationships are important to me. And how are we going to navigate this together as partners?
Correct.
And really be able to kind of lay that out at the forefront. Now, a million things happen, life happens, and it doesn't always work out. I just don't know that we spend enough time knowing ourselves and being able to articulate that when we're at the stage of our life where we're choosing our life partner. Monikered that it takes a village, but it's so true that all of us, in order for us to quote unquote do it all, we have to rely on other people.
I think we used to in the olden days. Like I'm talking like cave era.
Yeah.
We would be in the cave with other women, right? And you would take care of the kids and then the men would go out and not like I researched this. I feel like this is like I'm going in the right direction with this.
It's
hunter
like
gatherer.
Correct. Yeah.
I think it's like a human.
Well, it's also like
thing.
hunting. You don't just hunt by yourself. You hunt with a group. To get that big bear.
I'm not going hunting.
No,
I'll be at the cave. They bring it, they clean it. I'll serve it. I'm not doing that. But again, see, maybe I don't want to do it all. Like I'm not a good cook. And I make that very clear. Like disclaimer, I am a really shitty cook. I'll burn your clothes. Don't make me iron. And I definitely can't wash them. They will be Clorox stains that don't belong there because I mixed everything in one thing. But I know I'm great at picking up dry cleaning, right? So finding that person that's okay with that, because I think that because you said we're evolving, I think some people still want that 1940s, 1950s aspect for a woman. And we're kind of growing from that. So it just gets a little bit complicated.
So I saw this the other day on Instagram. My mom actually sent this to me from Oprah.
Okay.
And she said that a lot of successful people that she knows in all areas of life, not just financially, they actually know what they want. We never get asked, like, what do you want?
That's great.
And if you think about that, that's like a question that you should sit down with and just say, like, what do I want? What do I want in a husband? What do I want in my children?
I love those.
What do I want from me? And then that's how you can determine what it is you're living
next steps.
for. So you're not like a robot just going through life.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, one of the things that my dad in particular taught me at an early age is have a plan, work the plan.
Love that.
And in business, you don't have successful businesses without a business plan. And you typically have an annual plan. You might have a 3-year plan that you're revisiting and updating on a regular basis. We should have a personal goal plan.
I love that.
And who's defining whether you feel success or not, except yourself.
I love that. It's true. But I think as a mom too, if you're going to be focusing on business so much, then there comes this like, I'm not the mom guilt. I'm not there all of the time. And having to give yourself grace and say, look, I found an amazing, whether it's your mom, your sister, your babysitter, whoever is taking that place for you momentarily, they're helping you get to the level where your child is going to be proud of you. It's so hard to try to say, I'm going to do it all on my own, but realistically, you're not doing the child a favor at all either, because now you're struggling trying to do it all. It just doesn't work.
So you're a successful businesswoman. You are the mom of a young daughter. How are you doing it?
By the grace of God. By the grace of God. So talking about business and success, you are the owner of Face Foundry here in Naples.
Yes.
Can you tell us like how it started? How many stores is there right now?
I believe we are at around 25 or 26
Wonderful.
stores across the country, growing very fast. We launched in 2019.
Oh, wow.
in
It's so new.
Minneapolis. Yes.
I have to go there.
Yes.
Is that
You're
the
going?
I have to go in like 2 weeks.
Absolutely. That's where it started in 2019. And it started by Michelle Henry, who's the founder and CEO. Her story is incredibly inspirational. She and I were friends. We were in a women presidents organization, a sort of a president's CEO peer group organization in the Twin Cities together, which is how I was introduced to her. Weren't aligned in terms of the growth plan. She was going through a major transition personally, went through a divorce, had just had her third baby, similar to Sam, like 3 kids under the age of 6. And, busy mom, busy entrepreneur, and, hormonal from every, stress and just pregnancy hormones. And her skin was like going crazy. And she's like, look, I don't have a lot of time. I, have to be really careful with my finances. But I need some help with my skin, and there's literally nowhere to go. So as she was thinking about her business, like her next phase of her, sort of business career, she was like, you know what, there is a major gap in the market.
Wow.
For skincare services for busy women, that is inclusive, that's affordable, that's accessible, that's not going to require me to take a half a day out of my, out of my busy life and, write a huge check. And it's something that I'm going to need regular, ongoing skincare, and it needs to be affordable. And so she concepted what ultimately launched in 2019, the first store in the Twin Cities in Edina, Minnesota, as Face Foundry. And she had her first 3 stores and then launched franchising, and it has just completely taken off. And when you're ready to franchise, call me.
And then she called you.
And she called me.
Oh, that's incredible.
And here we are in Naples a year later after launching our first store here and getting ready to open our second store.
What makes it so unique? The layout. How is it? Is it like
It's a super modern, open concept. Great. Again, part of the being able to provide a 40-minute focused facial is you're getting rid of all the muss and the fuss. I don't need a locker. I don't need to put on the robe.
Thank you. I mean, I do like that sometimes. This is...
Yeah, and believe me, I love that. My girlfriend's coming to town. Let's do a spa day.
That's
whatever.
A whole production, though. That's a whole thing.
That's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. But for regular routine, skincare, self-care, 40 to 60 minutes of just me time.
Yeah.
To recharge. So the concept, it's all open concept, modern. We're playing contemporary music. You're not getting the woo-woo music. It feels fresh and bright. It's not dark, and it just looks and feels very different. But really the concept itself is we want to get you on the treatment bed, focus on your skincare with a, really high quality, educated esthetician. Let's get in and focus on your goals and, get you in and out.
How much would a facial set back a woman? What do they start at?
Our 40-minute focus facials are $69.
That's incredible.
So super, super approachable. And we really want to take whatever you're bringing in the door and really just reset your mindset, reset your energy, focus on your skincare, and send you out the door feeling amazing, because we believe if you feel good, you do good.
I think.
And bring that energy back out into the community.
I love that.
And then also your location here in Naples is
it's amazing.
Because you're right by 5th Avenue, but you also are where there's good parking. So you don't have
most days.
it's really nice.
I was able to find parking when I
Thank
went, and I
you.
was like, oh, thank God.
No, it was really nice. And you being a mom with 3, what are the ages of your kids?
5, 1 and 3/4 or something. Like he's on the way. July, he'll be 2.
And?
And then Layla's 5 months. She'll be 6 months this week.
You look refreshed. Did Face Foundry do this? Because your face looks really good. You don't have like bags on your eyes. And
She looks
Really?
amazing.
how are you doing it?
I don't know. Honestly, you take everything with a grain of salt and just be very grateful. Like, just remember that the person next to you could have it worse. Like, just that, and that's like the beautiful thing about it. Like, okay, so each kid I have, that's one thing I've realized. Each child gives you more wisdom. And it's not really more wisdom on maybe your day-to-day life per se, but on how you're going to attack that life. Like when you look at an innocent child, for example, you look at an infant and all he or she does is look at you. They just take in that moment. How many times have we sat down and just been present? Not like shut our mind off, just like been like, wow, I'm living this life. Like they come out and they're like, whoa, like it's like a big deal. But we're taking life with stress and constantly, oh, and just like poor old miserable me. Like, why does everything happen to me? And it's like, no, everything happens for a reason. And maybe that reason just taught you a lesson to bring you something positive afterwards. Or, you know what? Like a sip of wine should be not necessarily magical, but like when a baby has their first, like we just gave Layla watermelon for the first time.
Oh,
and it was
cute.
like, oh my God, like Christmas morning. Like it was, and that's how we need to see life. And that's why, you know, I have 3 children and I want 6 because
I know and she's for it. She's an incredible mother.
She's here for
Incredible.
it.
Yeah. And it's really just because each kid I have, that's what I get back again is that like inner child that you lose going through life. And that's like one thing is like why I love the Posh moms as well is because now I'm surrounding myself with more women, either having children or have children. Like you were saying from the beginning, like that's the biggest thing is we don't know what we want and we don't
You knew
actually
you wanted to
take-
be a mom, though.
Yes. I always knew from day one I wanted to be a mom.
Did you have this conversation with your significant
Yes.
other
So,
early on?
Talking about a business plan, the first date my husband and I had, I was very much like, okay, I'm going to have 6 children.
my God.
I love it. I love it.
And then
I almost choked.
like I was just done. I was dating for so long and just I was just like, you know what? The next guy, I'm just gonna
You
lay
were
it out on
done.
the table.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I did. And he's still around. First
Did he?
2 years of Christian's life, I was a stay-at-home mom.
I remember.
I didn't work. And there was nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom or anything
There
like
isn't.
that. But the thing is you really have to have conversations because
Yes.
actually being a stay-at-home mom is a lot more challenging than being a working mom because it puts you in that place of like asking before doing versus now I know I bring financially. So sometimes it's not that I ask, I more or less let my husband know because he's the budgeting guy, not me. I'm the spending woman. That's how come we work too. He budgets, I spend, whatever. But that's the thing was like when I was the stay-at-home mom, I just felt on a day-to-day basis more.
You don't talk to anybody. There's also that lack of
too.
adult
Socialization.
You don't talk to anybody and you
There
just
isn't.
feel like
Life
how
is
I was when
passing
I was
over.
a kid. My parents, I was a big time dancer, so I didn't have to get a job at a young age, but I constantly had to ask my mom to go buy me a pair of jeans, to do this, to do that. So it took a little bit of your independence away. And there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, but that's where the men need to understand that sometimes a woman feels like she lost her independence
100%.
being a stay-at-home mom. Because now she's like, and that's in the financial thing, since obviously the world runs by money. So that's how we get to do things. It doesn't make us happy,
Well,
but
you're supposed to be a unit. It's not a
Yes.
he thing, she thing. It's a unit. And it's also understanding that and communicating that. Because that's, again, how resentment occurs. And that's why a lot of marriages or even business relationships don't work out. There's resentment from both partners or parties. So
I think it kind of comes back to my point about having a plan, right? Whether it's, you start out with your personal plan and eventually if you find the right partner, you have a together plan. But just again, just like in business, in life, we need role definition.
I love
We
that.
need ways to communicate whether we're being successful or not being successful and how to course correct when that's not happening. I mean, there's so many parallels. But to your point, Emily, about I think, having respect, having an appreciation for what each of you are bringing to the table, it's just critical. I've always contended that this whole concept of work-life balance is a fallacy. There is no such thing as work-life balance, right? There's life. Work is part of your life, and it meshes together, and it ebbs and flows depending on the day, the week, the month, the year. As your life plan changes, the quote unquote balance changes. And to try and, this concept of, can you do it all? Well, what does all mean?
I love that.
And it's something different for every person. Another sort of philosophy, and someone taught me this, I didn't come up with it on my own, but you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Oh, I love that.
And so really understanding what your priorities are. And again, they ebb and flow. They change. It's not, this is where I started and this is where I must end up. Sometimes it's not linear. And being able to lean in and tap into your friends and your family. And
do you think social media has a play to this as well? Like seeing women, I mean, it's just a lot of it's fake, right? Like they're looking into this in their home and they're like, good God, I'm not doing anything. It's, I think the social media and the digital age has really messed up a lot of.
But that's where it's in control of you, of how you're viewing it.
True.
Versus a lot of the times, and I actually had to, so with social media, both my husband and I had to step away from it. He's really stepping away from it because he compares himself to it because that's the personality he has. Me, I've been creating more trips with it because I'm like, oh, look, we could go here, we could go here. But it took me a while to realize this isn't a comparing foundation. This is just, again, ads. It's literally
that is
your phone all of a sudden picks up. We talk about Face Foundry. Probably later on, my phone's going to come up with Face Foundry or something.
It probably will. That's funny.
They say our pictures are so perfect. And it's yes, it's a
you
photo.
Have no idea what it took to get there.
Yeah.
And so it's figuring that out and then getting to know each of the members and the story and the reality of it. What are some tips for women? What can they do with this notion of you can do it all, but like you said, you can't do what is it? How did you?
You can do anything, but you can't do everything.
So what are some tips for women listening that are like, well, okay, thanks for this podcast. Now what? What now? What can they do? Do the list, have communication with their spouse or partner. If they don't have one, do it for yourself and, check it. Like you said, maybe weekly or
do it for yourself. Goals. And then also whoever you're surrounding yourself with, who do you lean on? That is
so important.
Who do you lean on?
What is the circle that you are in?
Yeah. You are a product of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
If they don't want to grow, you're not going to grow. And if you grow, they're not going to be your friends for long. They're going to start resenting you. They're going to become jealous, and it's just a whole lot of ugly. So that's also realizing if you want to grow, you need to kind of step back, analyze who is in your circle, and you might have to go alone for a little bit till you figure out the next people in your life.
Yeah, and I think be real about that. There's sacrifices.
Correct.
You don't have to be a New York Times, excellent cook and be a successful CEO and be the best mom and be bringing the most beautiful cupcakes to the bake sale and be taking care of your parents and right? You literally don't have to do all those things. So what are the most important things to you?
Correct. That's good.
And prioritize those and be okay letting that other stuff go.
I love that.
Yeah.
And by the way, make a little time to take care of yourself.
Go to Face Foundry for that.
You do.
No, I'm not kidding.
No, seriously.
You really do have to.
That makes sense. So
self-care is important because you can't sustain a pace of literally trying to do it all, whatever that definition is for you, if you don't take care of yourself. We do it to ourselves in a lot of ways.
That's our grandparents' era. I think that we're still kind of evolving. If you look, what year was our grandparents and our parents? That generation's, it's still evolving.
Well, yeah, because
our kids' generation's very different.
Oh God, it's a little scary what's gonna happen.
I mean, honestly,
it's gonna be so awesome.
So
life.
I'm a little older than you
Lives.
girls. I won't say what my age is on the podcast, but I'm a little older than you guys. But my grandmother was from the era where when she worked.
Oh, wow.
Her dad passed away when she was young, so her mother was a single mother. She worked as a young adult, and she would tell me like my favorite time was when I was a secretary at Ford Motor Plant,
Oh, I love this.
But when she got married and started having children,
She's-
she stopped working.
was that his choice or her choice?
You know what? I don't know. I think, I think it was just an expectation, right?
So why did women go to college at that point? I'm confused.
Well,
Like
they didn't
all-
always go to
Well,
college.
yeah, she went.
But the
I think
ones
she
that
went to like
did.
secretarial school and what have you. But I remember as so she had her daughters, and then I'm the daughter of her oldest, her one son, and I remember being a teenager, and now I will date myself, so this was in the 80s. But she looked at me and she's like, Terry, you need to go to college. And I was the first woman in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And
I
she
love
would
that.
say to me, she's like, my biggest regret is that I didn't go back to work because I loved working. And you think about like her
Wow.
generation. So I think my dad was born, I think in 1948. So it was like the mid 40s, post World War II era. Then you had the whole like women's lib movement, right?
I would have been there.
So I'm a Gen Xer. It was
Okay.
sort of like, now we've created the pathways. You will go to college. You will pursue the
Correct.
career. You will, because we couldn't do it. We didn't have the opportunities. So don't you let those opportunities go to waste.
Mhm.
So
And
now
so
what's
there
happening
was-
though?
And so, that was sort of like my generation was, yeah, like, of course I'm going to go to college and have the
Of
career
course.
and have it all,
Mhm.
right? Now I think the younger, the millennials, and even like the Gen Z, they're looking at this like, I was the latchkey kid. I watched my mom like bust her butt, and for what? And I don't want to make those same choices. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't want to feel like I have to do it all.
I think now we can
So-
make money at home. I mean, it's
Well,
not
yeah.
like you
Yes.
have to go to
Oh my
the
gosh,
office
and the
anymore.
Gen Zers are like the most entrepreneurial
Jeez,
generation.
they're buying more homes than the actual
Yes.
millennials. I was reading on it.
I think it's interesting to watch sort of the evolution, right?
Well,
and men, I think there's
Work
an
smarter,
evolution
not
with-
harder.
with
And
men too. Like my son, who's a millennial, he I think he has a completely different perspective as he's now going into his married life and
Aw.
as a dad, as to what he needs to bring to the table for his family, because he watched his mom have a full-time career and try and balance all of these things. So I do think that these
Wow, it's
things are
interesting.
changing, but it's like generations of like,
Yeah.
moving at a snail's pace, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it can't change overnight.
so maybe it's not about doing it all anymore. You don't have to.
No.
If you have the right partner, it should be equal. You
I
can
think
kind
it's
of
a
relax.
choice. I think it's a choice of what you aspire
Mhm.
to have and do, and some of us are, type A's, and we want to have a lot of things going on in our lives and do this and do that or whatever.
Mhm.
Like we take that on.
We do.
And some of us don't aspire to that. And that's okay.
That's fine.
That's
That's
totally
fine.
okay. But whatever your, sort of your choices, whatever your definition of all, you gotta figure out how to make it all work so you feel good about it at the end of the day. In my mind, that kind of comes back to the have a plan,
The
work
plan.
the plan.
It's the end of the
Like,
plan.
why are you doing something? Why are you spending time on X, Y, or Z?
I was just thinking this last night. I was up. I stay up. She goes to sleep, and that's when I get a lot of my work done. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Literally, like, why? It's like I can find another way. Like I could just go get a 9 to 5, or I could just find an easy route or call my dad. I mean, whatever angle I want, but I choose to put myself, whenever I'm stressed out, she checks on me. She's like, how are you? And I'm like, she knows based on my answer, like how grueling things are. And I'm like, I do it to myself.
The quick recipes too. Actually, I've made a few of those. My husband's like,
I
"Ooh,
still mess it
you're
up.
cooking very well."
No.
It's like I'm not cooking well.
I was taking care of one of my friend's kids to help her out for something, and I made them mac and cheese, and both of the kids are like, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I put too much milk or butter. It just looked like crap. I'm like, I can't follow recipes. I don't know.
you just
Something's
have to
wrong
do
with
the
me.
box that you put the cheese in and you swirl it.
It was a box.
Oh.
It was a box. I followed every instruction.
Nothing's wrong with you. That's just not your strength area.
I ate it. I eat it. I don't care if it didn't taste. I was just hungry. I was like, well, if you're not going to eat, I'm going to eat. I'm, whatever. It was awful.
We've all done that.
Well, anyway, thank you again for being here. And it's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
having us.